All right, before we get to the CBA stuff, have you been watching any of this any of these international games that I see that are getting posted in our Discord?
I'll turn them on, but I haven't been as locked in as I guess I thought I would with like the Juste games, the Carla games, the Janelle games. Like I kind of have an idea of how their teams are doing, but the I'm forgetting his name on Discord, but he's been locked in.
Yeah,
That's why
shout out to our guy Casta in the Discord. Just so he's watching for you. He's watching you stay stuff. He's like
yeah,
filling us in on how you stays playing in
he's our
some of these
Juste
games.
insider.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, it's been
another
kind of
reason though,
cool that
another
you've been
reason
watching
to
this stuff.
like I'll just keep promoting that Discord every single time. Like it's such a it's a nice little way to just keep in, just basically stay up to date with this stuff. And I think I've been more active in the past than I have been lately. But I guess the WNBA news has kind of been down. It's just been more CBA stuff as opposed to like hires and more fun stuff. But
Yeah, it'll get more fun when they take care of this CBA stuff, which,
yeah,
and we're gonna talk about it in a second. Like the last time that the last couple times that they've missed the CBA deadline, it's really been early the following year when they actually get a deal done. So it could go that far and we'll just be in this like weird space of like nothing going on. But I do think that there should be a little bit more of a sense of urgency because again, and I mentioned this last time, you have this opportunity to really take advantage of this crazy free agent period. And there's going to be so much more media coming out of that for your league. And you don't want it to be negative. You don't want it to be, oh, they can't get their act together. It's this opportunity. And now they're fighting. And oh, now it's the free agent period. Like you want this stuff to be positive. So I'm hopeful that they do get it done sooner than that, but it doesn't sound too promising, at least right now. But before we get to that, I just wanted to mention the Discord itself is really fun, and because we're in this like kind of early stage, and I think we're doing it in the right way, where we have a handful of people who are kind of hanging out. We'll get more people, I'm sure, once the WNBA season starts again, and maybe during some of this college basketball stuff. But it's kind of a slowly but surely thing. And I like to see who's kind of hanging out and who is posting stuff. And again, shout out to Casta. But there are people who are requesting access and they're joining, but I think they're probably lurking, just to get a little comfortable. Sometimes Discords, you have people who just lurk. I'm totally fine with that as well, as long as everything is cool. But so, hit me up, gg@bspnmedia.com if you want to come hang out. And I'll also throw a link in this chat. And I'll also, if people request a link in the comments, I will also send a link in the comments to as a reply. All right. So where do we sit right now with this deadline? So Friday, which is in 2 days from as we're recording, is the deadline day to get this thing done. We've heard from both sides that actually, I don't know if the NBA or the WNBA side has said anything specifically, but the players side has definitely said that they do not believe that a deal will be done by that deadline day. So it, by all accounts, it seems like this day is going to come and go, and nothing will be done. I believe on Monday, the WNBA owners sent in another proposal. So that was the latest. And I don't know what that proposal, like all the things that was in that proposal, but obviously nothing has happened. So it's not getting to the teeth of what the union wants. I have been kind of following in just certain areas, and what I've learned is it sounds like the last labor deal was really more about a lot of the accoutrements that they need with their safety and with the healthcare and with the mothers and taking care of that stuff. And as we know, they got the better travel a couple of years ago. And so now it seems like this is where they believe is the time that they need to get the money right. And we've been hearing a lot about what they want to get to, which is a model that is similar to the NBA where you get this 50-50 split for revenue. And which is why the NBA cap just is constantly going up and up and up is because every time the league just gets more revenue, half of it goes into the NBA salary cap. So that's what the WNBA wants because they're like, hey, why does it have to be different? And what we know is that the way that the ownership and the equity around the league is different, which is part of the reason why they don't really have this revenue share in the way that the NBA does. Now, I know that's what they want. And here's my question to you. What if the WNBA ownership group came back and said, let's have a plan, and here's how long we want it to take in 2 years, here's what the split will be. In 4 years, here's what the split will be, with the idea that it is incrementally going to get up to 50-50, so that the players have, like, this vision of when they will get to that split. Now, in the meantime, the owners will be able to recoup some of the money that they've invested in this league because the league has been a money loser so far, overall historically. So they can recoup some of that in the meantime. But at the same time, when the WNBA gains in popularity, they will also make out because of that. So it is kind of like it is in both of their best interest to really, really make this league work and continue to grow. But do you think a deal like that where the owners are compromising and promising, like, "We're going to get there. It took us this is what the NBA was for a long time, and here are the steps that it took to get there to where it is today." Do you think that that would be a compromise from any of the things that you've heard? Or do you think the players, are more interested in kind of like, you know, $1,000,000 is the max salary and things of that nature?
I mean, $1,000,000 max salary is not asking much in comparison to, what the split would even look like. Like, um, I think what they of course, like you said, like, if they had it their way, of course the split would be 50-50. But that's just not how, the league has their percentages dished out right now. And I think, it's been mentioned on the Athletic Women's Basketball show that, while what you said, that would be the best thing for them is the 50-50. But it's like they just want a model that goes up with the league revenue.
Mhm.
Like, because right now they have a fixed percentage where it's like it goes up like 3% increments every year. It's a fixed percentage. But what if next year the WNBA just makes, triple the times of the revenue that, they made the year before?
And they
Well,
still make the
how
same
it's set up right now,
3%.
it'd still
Yeah.
be the 3%. They want it to go up with the revenue. So I think that that's kind of what they're more so looking at right now. And, I think your proposal, like, if there is, I think if there's more honesty and more like yeah, if that was a type of solution, I think that would resonate with the players more. But I don't think it's really been that. I think it's just been undershooting what, we even thought was maybe the minimums. It's like 850 max salary. I think we at least thought it was going to be 1 million. Like, at the very least, just it seems like, sure, the league has been a money loser historically, but I would be so shocked if you went to any owner and been like, well, do you want to, would you like to sell your share and find new ownership because it's been a money loser? So do you want to get out? No one wants to get out. Everyone wants to get in this league. Like, so
Well, I think there are some ownership groups, like maybe Connecticut, who would
they want to get out because
probably
they probably can't afford what this is going to become.
right, and so they've probably invested. They probably have found out that they are not really coming out ahead, but then by selling it, because like you said, there are people who wanna get into the league, that's where they may be able to
Yeah.
recoup a lot of money.
Yeah. So yeah, the Mohegan Tribe probably, yeah, there's probably a lot of these are, NBA ownership groups. And I didn't even realize how many were, like, Indiana, Washington. I think I kind of knew that, but it was just, I thought that it was mainly just like Joe Lacob, Matt Ishbia, and the size that were like the big spenders, because they are. But
Mhm.
there is more NBA ownership in this league than I thought, and there's going to be more coming in. So yeah, I just think that, if they say like the historical money loser, I get it, but like, this is going to be very profitable in the long run. And it feels like I'm with the players in the sense that, like, if you don't get it this time, then you're just going to watch the next 5 years go, or however long until you can opt out again. Just it's going to be a lot of missed opportunity and missed money.
Now, I have not covered the history of labor negotiations in the WNBA, but I have to believe that this is probably the time that the players have had the most leverage, maybe in the history of the WNBA. And you don't want that opportunity to be wasted. So
Hmm.
this is why they're probably going to hold as strong as they possibly could, while at the same time understanding that some of these players, they've kind of reconditioned their livelihood, though there are still some WNBA players playing internationally. But I go back to that Diana Taurasi documentary where she wins like the WNBA championship and then literally leaves on a plane to Russia like the next day because that's really where she's making all of her money.
Hmm.
And you want the WNBA to be the main league. Like it's actually, I'm not saying it's insulting for um, Billings to be playing overseas. Like, she's hustling, she's making her money knowing that her career is like this finite amount of time. But the WNBA is who should be embarrassed because they're like, "Oh, we can't even pay our players enough money to where they can train with their teams and have a proper off season." So, but maybe they're not embarrassed because they're like, the better it is to for the player salaries to be down, the better it is for us. Um, the other thing that I was thinking about was the expansion teams, and that's also the difference in the previous negotiations to now, is you kind of want to get it done because what happens is if you go all the way, let's say they go to February and they finally strike a deal, from February to mid-April, you have to do expansion draft and then collegiate and international players draft. And these two teams that you're wanting to build up, you're not giving them a long runway for the fans to be really excited about these teams because there's an unknown, right? Do you want to put your season ticket money down if the WNBA is going to miss the beginning of the season because they're locked out, right?
Hmm.
So you want all that stuff to be resolved so that you can actually go into marketing your two new teams. So that's another part of this that is not accounted for in these other negotiations because of expansion. Like they are hot. You don't want to stop. You don't want to halt the hotness. They have these two teams coming in. You want to give them the best opportunity to be like the Valkyries were this year. And you have this crazy free agency period that you want to take advantage of from a publicity standpoint, kind of being at the top of the sports center news, right? Maybe they're not the lead story, but they can be, right near there with with the media stuff. So I do think, well, I think the players have the most leverage. I hope that they're smart enough and I think smart is not the right word because again, you're messing with people's livelihoods and their paychecks. I hope they're patient enough. Patient may not be a great word either, but to just really understand that they do have a good deal of leverage here, and to really, let's get these let's really put some stuff out there publicity wise to show that, hey, maybe we think that, the owners are crying poor here. Maybe they're actually making a little bit more money than people realize, and let's show that information. I think there are interesting things there that they could do because they do have the advantage that they are the face of the league. Like nobody knows what Josai or Joey Lightyears looks like, right? It's really the players, so they can actually do that from a fan perspective to get the sympathy on their side,
Yeah.
and I hope they do it because I
I
think.
just
Go
I
ahead.
just wonder, like in terms of, you say the players have the leverage. Like, what happens when, like, say they don't get the deal done? They're not going to get it done by October 31st. The extension happens. and then this thing like historically, I guess, doesn't get resolved until the beginning of next year. Well, guess what happens between now and the beginning of next year is Unrivaled. And
Hmm.
I wonder if that plays a factor, maybe Unrivaled. Like, what if it just gets like insane ratings, and then you can use that as leverage? Like, oh, well, we have Unrivaled, and do they leverage the Maverick Carter, you know, $5 billion investment that he's seeking for the men and women's league in Europe? Like that has WNBA former players wanting to invest, like Candace Parker and Lauren Jackson. Like, like you said, Diana Taurasi, and it's not every European country that makes all this money. It was like the Russia, and I imagine maybe like the China,
Yeah, that was like, I don't know how long ago it was,
and they
15
don't
years
go to
ago.
Russia anymore because
Yeah.
obviously of what happened. But I just wonder if they're just like, yeah, like if they're like, we're gonna make more money, going elsewhere. Like, I just can't believe that this is they could just lose if they leverage stuff like that. If they're like, well, the Maverick Carter thing or the Unrivaled thing. Like, I know the Maverick Carter thing is just not really like put out, but there's been athletic pieces, front office sports pieces where it's just you don't. What if they make more money overseas? Then then it's just, what are we doing here?
But
So
you lose the, um gosh, you really lose the ability to be the face of a sports person in the US, right? Like, I'm sure you get something out of going overseas and playing, maybe there's more money, but when you come back and you get to use your likeness, your celebrity in a way
And I
to
mean the
protect your
competitiveness.
brand.
I think that's what we learned with like Juste is that like it's just been like a dream of hers because this is the best league in the world, right? But I think if so, yes, I think that the WNBA will always still be here, but they I think they gotta stop playing around, man.
And
They
by the
gotta
way, I
stop
don't I
messing
don't
around.
think that the players have all the leverage. I think they have the most leverage they've ever had, so they
Mm.
do have to take advantage of it, right? They cannot be pushovers here because and cry and let the owners cry foul because they haven't made as much money and look, it is an investment, right? If you can invest money in anything, and playing for the long run versus playing for short-term games, like, that is part of investing. So that's what I'm saying is the WNBA ownership can't say, well, we need to get all of our money back first before we can then pay the players more. That's not how it works. You don't have to get all of your money back. You can have plans to grow the players pool slowly but surely, or maybe not even slowly but surely, maybe just over a span of time so they can physically see and they can actually make some calculations about what that money's going to be like, especially as the league grows. They are the ones seeing all of the people in the buildings. They are the ones seeing that the Valkyries sold out every single game. And that is a difference from how it was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And they can see that as well. They can see the expansion fees that these ownerships are getting. They can see the owners who want to come into the league. So that means that there's money and that there's investment coming in. So I would just I'm not playing with this ownership crying foul and we're poor and all this stuff. I would not really take that for face value. I think that's just a ploy, a politician ploy. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the coaches. I just want to go over the new coaches in the league right now because there've been some hires. Portland Fire, they hired Alex Sarama, extensive background working in European and international men's and women's professional basketball. Um, the
Cleveland Cavs assistant.
Cleveland, yeah, assistant coach for Cleveland Cavs. The Fire's front office cited his track record of creating intelligent decision makers, okay, and his comfort operating as a coach for an expansion franchise. So the Portland Fire has their first, their recent. I guess the Portland have a team before,
Yes.
so they're reintroduced franchise. So then this one's the interesting one. The Dallas Wings hired Jose Fernandez, college coach, last 25 years at South Florida. this is going to be the person who's got the keys to the Paige Becker's car here. Kind of interesting. I thought they would get a little bit of a bigger name, but I guess he was also interviewed for the job last year, so they must have liked what they saw. Though he didn't get
Mhm.
the job last year, so I don't know why. But he's going to be Paige's coach, and he'll probably get another good young player based on the upcoming
He
draft.
likes, apparently, like, an international focus, so I wonder if Miss Awa Pham goes
Mm.
higher than I think she should be number 1 or number 2, and then maybe the actual draft will reflect that now.
Seattle Storm have Sonia Raman, who was an assistant for the Liberty and also coached at the
Memphis.
NBA level with the Grizzlies. And she was the coach at MIT for a while. So, first person of Indian descent to be a WNBA head coach, which is pretty cool. And then Toronto Tempo, their very first coach is Sandy Brundello, who was I don't know, unceremoniously removed as the head coach of the New York Liberty 1 year after winning the WNBA championship. She also coaches the Australian national team. Obviously, she's there to immediately establish culture and all the things that go with being an expansion team franchise. But it's kind of the opposite of what the Valks did, right? The Valks went with somebody who was younger, somebody who was their first job, and versus Sandy Brundello, who's a vet. So just different, different strategies in getting
Yeah,
your first time.
Seattle basically mimicked the Golden State strategy where it's like former like NBA experience
Mm-hmm.
to WNBA assistant experience to WNBA head coach.
All right, let's
I
end this
like all the
podcast.
hires. I know I not that I
Even
have too
even
much say.
even even Jose.
I actually really do like him. He's very well respected by his peers, by Gino. Like I think he's very involved in like I looked into him and like I think there was I'd have to come back and maybe talk about it next week if I could find it again. But it just seems like he's very like interactive and wants to grow the game and like has that type of mindset that and I like all the hires. Even the Sarama, the guy's British. I didn't even like I heard him talk during the press conference. It's like you don't really hear too many British accents in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Temmie.
Yeah. Okay. Last segment. Just this will be really short, just to kind of celebrate women's college hoop also starting. Who do you think has the better season this year between the former teammates Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo?
Who has the better season?
Yeah. Who's
Probably TCU.
think so?
Olivia Miles. I mean, just Notre Dame. It feels like they lost so much with not as much incoming. Like they lost Citron, they lost Westbeld, they lost Olivia Miles because they were all seniors. I think they lost a couple more too, but it's just I think Hidalgo's a dog. Like I actually, she comes to Stanford and Berkeley this year. I would like to go watch her play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the TCU move for Olivia was I think they had mentioned it with the no offseason pod had mentioned it with Haley Van Lith last year, but that they kind of have this super old roster that like almost rivals like WNBA age limit to enter the league. Like they just have a really old roster that's kind of plays like a WNBA roster would. So there's value in maybe going there to get adapted to that type of environment and that type of play style. And I think that play style definitely favors Olivia Miles' game. So I think TCU, just because they're older and Olivia Miles is a floor raiser, great playmaker. I think that they'll have more success than Notre Dame.
But do you think she has a better season than Hannah?
That okay? So sorry, I guess that was the question. That's a tough one. I would lean yes, but I don't say that confidently. I think Hannah could just have a crazy year, given that she's like the primary person.
Right. And so, okay, here's the reason why I asked this question. I was reading Chantel Jennings is
Welcome back, Chantel. I would love to hear her on the No Off Season pod again. It's been a
yeah.
while.
She had her the women's college basketball all America team. And so she picked for her first team she picked Sarah Strong, Lauren Betts, Madison Booker, Hannah Hidalgo, and then as I was scrolling down, I was like, oh, and then it's going to be Olivia Miles. Nope. Michaela Blakes from Vanderbilt was her
Ooh,
other first team. And you got to go down to second team. You know who else is not on the first team? Flage was on the second team.
Daisy
Olivia Miles, AZ Fudd, Tanaya Latson,
Latson.
and who's the last person here? Cody McMahon.
Oh,
Cody?
okay.
Cody?
Did she transfer? We watched her play. She's Ohio.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
She transferred to Ole Miss.
So that was
Yeah, she was
interesting.
good when we
I
watched
was
her.
like, wow, I didn't, I would have assumed Olivia Miles would have been right there with Hannah Hidalgo on the preseason first team, but she wasn't. She was on the second
I
team.
bet you it was. I imagine it was a tough decision, and I
Yeah.
imagine it wasn't like easy. That wasn't like an easy because I think that's the two that you have to think about right there. That Hannah has full green light, the entire team to herself, so she could theoretically put up more individual stats. I don't really know TCU's roster, but I just know that Olivia is going to thrive and play well in that type of roster because of what the coach wants.
All right, we got a lot of stuff done on this show, so appreciate folks hanging out, listening on the audio feed, watching on YouTube.
Doesn't this
Uh,
college season start like on Monday or something,
is
or
that when it
soon?
starts? I mean, I saw tons of women's college stuff in the Athletic, so that's why
Should we try to go when we're in Arizona, or is not enough time?
who does Arizona play when we're there?
Hmm. See, I don't even know if they're home or not.
Oh, are they
But
gonna have
they're,
a
I mean,
good
they're in a
team?
good conference. They're
Are they
in the
gonna have a good
TCU
team?
conference, right? We'll see. Becky, I'm excited for Becky Burke's first year as the coach. She's got like a she got so what's that Lions head coach name? That is the guy who's just like full energy.
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell, yeah. Not that I don't think she's anywhere close to Dan. I think Dan's just a different animal out there, but
Yeah.
she kind of brings that like we got this like positive vibes type of vibes.
Yeah, we should go see, as much as we possibly can, so, this year, especially with it's just unfortunate that Cal and Stanford aren't in that echelon of teams that are gonna be really good. San Jose State's dog meat, but, um, yeah, I just wish they
Stanford does have some top recruits this year. They might be on track to becoming like a good program again post, you know, coach retirement.
I've never been to Stanford gym, by the way,
I went last year. It was cool.
and I've never been to the Berkeley gym, I don't think either.
I have not either. I think that's the Haas Pavilion or something.
Yeah. You know who has? I bet you Proc Daddy could get us in.
Yeah.
We should hit him up.
Yeah.